Welcome back. It's episode 106 of the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast. My name is Josh. I'm here with Troy. We haven't done this in a long time, Troy. It's kind of playing off where in the world is Waldo, or where's Waldo? It's where's Troy. So, what city are you in this beautiful morning?
Troy's currently in Seattle, Washington.
And you're about to go out Gilligan's Island on our show, huh? And gonna be on a boat?
Yep, going on a boat. We're going on a cruise, Alaskan cruise, couple stops in Canada, couple stops in Alaska, and then head back to Seattle.
So we're back to off hours, oddball hours for
Yep.
recording on the Gong Show. It's the very wee hours in Seattle. It's early here in Minnesota, which makes it very early in Seattle. So glad to have you here. Now, given that you're going to be probably lost in the ocean somewhere for Thursday's show, that presented us a little bit of a pickle. And we thought, well, do we skip a show? Do we bring on another co-host? And of course, we decided to keep the train rolling here, Troy. And we do have a special guest co-host for Thursday. Now the question is, do we play like the hockey card breaker tease on this one and not let everybody know who will be Thursday's co-host, or do we just do the quick reveal? I'm gonna vote for the tease.
Yeah, tease it. It'll probably slip out somewhere. But if you want to build hype, then you have to announce it, right? You have to let everyone know who's going on. But you can let it be a tease. It'll be fun. Sweat it. It'll be good to go.
If we wanted to build hype and clickbait, I should have just started the rumors that we were like breaking up or something. And
there you go.
We weren't going to be here Thursday, and there's a new host of the show. That would have been probably doing you dirty a little bit. But that would probably have been the best way to build hype.
Yeah, okay. I wouldn't be able to respond since I'm in the middle of the ocean.
In the middle of the ocean, probably passed out in the casino somewhere. All right. So, Troy, we've talked about the amazing wallets that are made from NHL goalie equipment from Second String for a while. We're just going to, I've got something else to talk about with this company that blew my mind this week. And so, just really quickly on the wallets, I think there's 23 left from the last collection. They're 101 art pieces. They're made from NHL goalie equipment. They're already 65% off. If you use our code Gongshow15, you save an extra 15%. That adds up to 80% off. So get one of these last 23 for at this price. I guarantee you won't regret it. Ooh, there's a wild one there too.
That's the Cam Talbot. The Cam Talbot left one.
Might have to snag that one. But Troy, had you seen their knives until
I did, and then you sent me the pictures. Love it.
Holy smokes, these are cool. And I'm gonna admit, like, I didn't fully like let this sink in at first. I kind of just saw that, what is it called? The hilt of the knife? Is that like what you grip onto?
Oh, don't ask me. I know nothing about knives.
It is made from a hockey stick, right? So, and then it's got a blade sticking out of it. And then there's, I think, what's called the scabbard, what you'd put over it. And so it kind of just looks like a shaft of a hockey stick. And really cool, just in of itself. But then I actually read about these. It's funny when you take time to learn what happened. And I found out that the blade is actually made from a hockey skate blade.
I did not know that.
Whole new level to me.
Yeah, I did not know that until I started doing the same thing you did. I mean, I knew they were there like you did, and I kind of read about them, and then I was like, no way, you have to be kidding me. Like, that is pretty cool.
And I think that's just indicative of the extra mile that Second String goes to, because they didn't have to do that, right? The knife in of itself would be cool without that. But knowing that it's everything in that, or that all the materials that they may use to make the knife are literally from hockey equipment, is just awesome. So the one you're looking at, if you're watching the show on YouTube, is their SNT utility knife. If you're listening, just go to Second String Leather. You got to check out these knives, whether you buy one or not. I mean, there's not a lot of them, so, and I think there's only a few left, but they're just pretty awesome. And again, the code Gongshow15 saves you 15% on these as well. All right, really quickly before we get going too, just a reminder, Troy, that the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast, because I'm sure you've forgotten, is a Patreon podcast. That means that we rely on support from listeners and watchers like yourself to really help us cover our show expenses, help us to produce more and better hockey card content. We're really trying to amp up the production value of our show, and these support here helps us do that. And then initiatives to grow the hockey hobby in even a small way. So right now, and we've had the out of 99 support level tier, which is kind of like a hockey card, right? Out of
Yep.
99, limited to 99 people for I don't know what, 6 months, something like that. And there's one spot left.
Yep.
So who will be? That's going to be the key question. The last person to take the out of 99 spot. Then we're gonna have to come up with something else. And people are making us think. It's early, so we'll probably do that later today. But we do have another couple other options. We just have a general support level tier, and then we have our new triple gold club, which of course has 2 gold medals and a silver medal, just to be accurate. That's our elite or highest level tier. It's 19.95 a month, but any level of support is amazing. It's really easy to do. You can go to our website, hockeycardsgongshow.com, click on the become a patron link, go to Patreon's website, patreon.com, and search for Hockey Cards Gong Show. There's a link in the show description, whether you're listening on Apple, Spotify, whatever podcast app, or watching on YouTube. And finally, in our TikTok and Instagram profiles, there's a link there. We do have 2 new patrons. We have Richard C., who took, I think, the second to last spot in the out of 99. So thank you, Richard, from the bottom of our hearts. And we do have our first triple gold. So now we gotta
Nice.
we gotta I think it's Phil M. I
Or
believe. Nah, I think I was wrong there in the notes. But whoever you are,
gotcha.
we'll figure it out. And it's amazing that you've elected to do that, and we're blown away by your support. So thank you. Okay, Troy, you ready for the game plan?
On today's show, we begin with the greatest NHL player to wear number one. Sorry, to wear number 6. Hey, it's early. Let me start that over. On today's show, we begin with the greatest NHL player to wear number 6. Then it's a fun segment on our top 5 hockey card Easter eggs. Then it's off to hobby news, followed by new product releases, and we end the show with our listener mailbag. All right,
So the
Josh.
greatest player to wear number 6, Troy, would probably be a really short segment.
Or the 106, you mean?
Yeah, 106.
Yeah, I totally botched that.
That's all right.
Clearly,
Yeah.
it's just in Seattle. I'm on a tiny little computer trying to figure this all out. All right, here we go. Greatest NHL player to wear number 6 per the Hockey Writers. Greatest NHL player to wear each article number is Phil Housley, Josh. We should be very familiar with Phil Housley.
One of us.
He's one of us. He's one of our peeps here in Minnesota. But if you don't know, he's a defenseman from St. Paul, Minnesota. Played his high school hockey at South St. Paul High School in Minnesota, which during the 80s when he played, or early 70s, was an absolute juggernaut in high school hockey in Minnesota. If you are a Gopher fan, Doug Woog, who used to be the longtime coach, was from there. So they are a big powerhouse in high school hockey in Minnesota. They were not so much anymore with how things have shaken out. All right, Phil Housley was the 6th overall selection in the 1982 NHL entry draft by the Buffalo Sabres. Housley played in 1,495 regular season games over a 21-season NHL career. Josh, I had no clue he played that long. That kind of surprised me.
That's forever, man.
Housley played for a bunch of different teams. Yeah, it is forever. And he played for a ton of teams, as well as guys like it's a potpourri at the end who he played for. I'm going to list them in order of seasons played. So just be aware this is not going to be correct chronologically. It's just where he played in order of seasons played. In addition, there's some seasons where he was traded and maybe didn't play a full season. So don't try to do the math because it'll get a little wonky there. All right, here we go. 8 seasons with the Buffalo Sabres, 5 seasons with the Calgary Flames, 3 seasons with the Winnipeg Jets, 2 seasons with the Washington Capitals, 2 seasons with the Chicago Blackhawks, and 1 season or less than 1 season with the St. Louis Blues, New Jersey Devils, and Toronto Maple Leafs. That was a mouthful, Josh.
Never played for the North Stars.
Never played for the North Stars, sadly.
Yeah.
All right. His awards and accomplishments, Josh. He is in the Hall of Fame. 1982-83 All-Rookie Team. He's a 1-time NHL second All-Star team selection, and he was a 7-time NHL All-Star game participant.
So you know what's crazy about the Hall of Fame thing, really quick, Troy?
Yeah.
Is how many players do you think are in the Hall of Fame that played for this many teams? I mean, usually it's like the journeyman kind of guy that is good enough to stay in the league for a long time. but not a star. And you have a Hall of Famer that was basically traded
Yeah.
constantly or moved
We're gonna
around
get
constantly.
to the whole Hall of Fame bit in a little bit. All right. For his career regular seasons, Housley had 338 goals, 894 assists for 1,232 points. Housley made the playoffs in 13 of his NHL seasons, compiling 13 goals, 43 assists for 56 points in 85 games played in the playoffs. So Housley was a prolific point-producing defenseman for his time. He began his career with 11 straight seasons of 60-plus points. He also scored 20-plus goals 7 times during his career.
Wow.
Yeah, he was very offensive defenseman. Best season of his career from a point standpoint was his 92-93 season, where Housley had 18 goals, 79 assists for 97 points in 80 games played. So, as mentioned, Housley was a tremendous point-producing defenseman. He is currently ranked 4th all-time amongst defensemen for points in a career. The only 3 defensemen ahead of him is a pretty good list. It's Ray Bourque, Paul Coffey, and Al McGinnis. In fact, Housley has the 2nd highest point-producing player ever in the NHL behind only Mike Modano. Our boy, there you go. There's the connection to Minnesota or the North Stars.
Wait, so he's the second highest point producing player from the US
Yep.
in the NHL? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Behind Modano. Gotcha.
Yep. So, here's the thing I remember how Housley. He had great NHL seasons, obviously from a points offensive standpoint. However, he was also just a fixture on Team USA, and this is actually where I kind of remember him a lot more for some
Okay.
reason. He played on 6 Team USA World Championship teams and 1 Olympic team, but I always remember him. Every announcement I saw, he's on the Olympic or he's on the World Championship team. So he's definitely synonymous with USA Hockey, and he's obviously in the USA Hockey Hall of Fame near Josh's hometown in Eveleth, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Housley was an assistant coach with the Nashville Predators before moving on to become the head coach of the Buffalo Sabres, which he had head coached from 2017 to 2019. He was then an assistant coach for the Phoenix Coyotes from 2019 to 2022. Currently, he is the assistant coach with the New York Rangers. And I'm going to show the picture. There he is, right behind the bench. Looks good. Looks great for his
Yep.
age. So that's the little thing on Housley. But here's the rub with Housley. Housley is one of those players that there is still debate on whether he should be ranked or in the Hall of Fame, and if he should be there, how he was voted in. It's crazy, this debate that goes on. He obviously has great stats from a standpoint. He deserves it, but he never won a Stanley Cup, never won a Norris Trophy or any individual awards. In fact, I believe he has played in the 4th most games without winning a Stanley Cup.
That's
Plus,
amazing that he has that many points and he never
yeah,
won an award.
yeah, and he played for mediocre teams. Within the argument would
Sure.
be, well, maybe he should have carried them a little more. He's obviously a gifted offensive defenseman, but the thing is, you don't find a lot, or else you'll find a lot of, let's say, pundits or people saying how he just wasn't very good as a defenseman, as a defensive defenseman. That was kind of something that kind of held him back a little in how people looked at him, which is kind of crazy. But I keep falling back to, you must be doing something right if you played in the NHL for 21 seasons, but all that ammo is kind of used against him. And I was thinking about this, Josh. Do you think he should be in the Hall of Very Good?
I don't know how you have the 4th most points ever at your
Yeah,
position and are not in the Hall of Fame. I mean,
yeah,
I think that's Hall of Fame worthy in of itself. And it's kind of funny. I'm listening to you talk about how he's much more of an offensive defenseman, not great in the defensive zone or on that side of the puck. And
yeah.
you sometimes like you have these, you wonder if players are born at the wrong era. It seems like he would be an absolute star in today's game.
Yeah. And well, with that era thing too, you get back to with there'll be an argument to say that he played in an era where it's kind of run and gun when he played, and people had lots of points for even defensemen because you had Bork, McGinnis, and Coffey's in there too, the guys ahead of him in points, but no one ever brings that up when talking about their points. Like, that was this run and gun era. Goaltending was kind of weak. But yeah, I agree with you. It's a good debate to have. I think it's a fun debate, but I definitely think he probably warrants inclusion.
One thing that I noticed in your report that I kind of made a mental note of, and I think I really want to dig into at some point, is when you said the best season of his career was 92-93. That's the Timu Solani year where he had a million points as a rookie. Joe Juno, we talked about last show,
Yeah,
who had the only other, I think, rookie to ever score 100 points and not win
yep,
the
the Calder.
Calder Trophy. What happened in 1992-93?
I don't know.
I honestly, we think that we should kind of look at. I really am interested because it seems like were there no
Yeah,
goalies that year? Were the goalies on strike, or
yeah,
everyone had a million points?
try the live puck era. We'll call it like. I know there is a dead puck era. I can't remember if there's ever a live puck era, but yeah, something to definitely look into. All right, so fun, interesting facts. There's actually not a lot. I kind of included a couple that I probably could have thrown into this section in the actual overview, but
Yeah.
Housley wore number 6 because that is the number that the Sabres gave him after drafting him the 6th overall pick in the 1982 draft. So interesting, but not that fun. And finally, before Housley started his NHL coaching career, he was the head coach of the Stillwater boys high school hockey team in Minnesota. Pretty amazing that he coached high school hockey for 9 straight years immediately after his playing career at Stillwater. Or he played in the NHL, retired, and then coached Stillwater High School for 9 straight years. I think that's got to be a pretty good experience for those kids that had him as a head coach, getting an
Oh, sure.
NHL player. And that happens a lot in Minnesota where NHL guys from Minnesota will actually go into high school hockey and immediately get run out by the parents because they're crazy. We've seen that happen way too many times, but it seems like Housley actually made it a while before he switched over and went the NHL coaching route.
Yeah, isn't it that the parents think they don't know anything about hockey then? Who was it that was saying, complaining? I don't want to throw any high schools under the bus here, but there's probably one of our Western Lake high schools that's now burned through 3 former NHL players or
Well, I
something
know
like.
Orono, they
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of.
Mark Parrish for on the boys' side, Larry Olam on the girls' side, and then I can't remember. There's probably another one in there, but
It's just
yeah,
wild that these parents think that these guys know
yeah,
nothing about hockey.
yeah, it's
Just
pretty
tough on
crazy.
their kids.
It's pretty crazy. All right, let's look at his rookie card. And I apologize. I'm gonna have to do some wonkiness with the zooming in. All right, his rookie card is a 1983-84 OPG number 65. PSA 10 has a pop of 56 with a gem rate of a paltry 11%, Josh. Last sale I could find of this card was on May 28th, 2023 for $364.50 US verified on Terapeak. The BGS 9.5 has a population of 35 with a gem rate of 35%. And the last sale I could find of the BGS 9.5 was on January 31st of 2022 for $158.50 US.
So between PSA and BGS at Gem Mint, that means there's less than 100 copies.
Exactly. Yep.
Crazy.
That's it. That's what we got.
All right, Troy. Well, we're gonna move on, and it's August, but hey, let's talk Easter.
Let's
Easter
talk
eggs.
Easter. Let's do it.
So one of the luxuries of it being the off season is it gives us space, a little bit of room to dig into some fun topics around the hobby. And one of the things we wanted to look at real quick or that was fun to look into, was just the concept of Easter eggs. So are you a big fan when you're ripping wax of the whole Easter egg concept, or would you just prefer to know what's in every set?
I go back and forth. I think I am a big fan. I do like finding out that there's this cool little Easter egg or there's some card we didn't know about that was announced later or that people are finding out about and they list them online. I just wish there was some kind of like statute of limitations after a year or two that they would actually put out an official, I don't know, an updated checklist or an official list of the Easter eggs, like Upper Deck or whoever produces a hockey card would put that out. I know check or Cardboard Connection does they will do their update their checklist. I think they do a better job than Beckett when like Easter eggs or
Yeah.
stuff that's found out later. I think Cardboard Connection does a better job of putting those out. I just wish there was some kind of formal process to put those out eventually after a kind of a statute of limitations period.
We're going to dive into our favorites and talk, I think, a little bit more about that checklist thing too, but that's a great point. we've both worked in technology. We've both worked in had big projects that we've worked on in our careers, and we know terminology is really important
Mhm.
when looking at any research project. So I asked Billy C at Upper Deck for what's the official definition of an Easter egg. And okay, are you ready to jot this down? Take some notes, Troy.
I'm ready.
It's a card not on the checklist.
I
Complicated,
love
I
it.
know, but don't worry, man. You'll get it in time. But very cool, very straightforward.
Yes.
Love it. But yeah,
I
so
well, I do think I do like that because at times I think we've talked about it and we've went back and forth on, well, is it, card not just not on the checklist that we're saying? And I agree that's probably the best definition. It's simple, makes sense.
I wanted to do my 5 favorite Easter eggs and throw them out there, get your feedback on them, get feedback from people that are watching and listening too. But as I was doing it though, I felt like I didn't want to rank them this time because
Mm,
I just like them all, and sometimes I don't know what the benefit is of saying this is better than that one,
yeah.
but I just wanted to do my 5 favorite. And hey, it's our show. We get to make up the rules. So we're going to go with that on this one. And then afterwards, too, in doing this research, I found that there's some lesser known recent ones that people might be opening right now. So I thought that we would run through a few of those real quick, too. But yeah, we'll get into it. Okay, Troy. So here's my top 5 Easter
Okay.
eggs. Going to get your feedback on them. So it's really hard not to go with Young Gun acetates right off the bat. And these have been traditionally found in SP Authentic releases. They've also snuck their way recently into 2022-23 extended series, which I think has elevated that set quite a bit.
Yeah.
So, and there is some confusion around these too, because
Mhm.
they often get confused with Young Gun's clear cut. I like to think of Young Guns acetates as the fancy rich cousins of the Young Guns clear cut. They're very super short print. Even though clear cuts are tough chases, the Young Guns acetates, nobody knows how many are printed. Upper Deck won't tell anybody. We've
Yep.
asked actually directly, and I'm guessing there's probably 10 or less.
Yeah.
So much, much less than clear cut. They're thicker. They have foil on them, where clear cut is really just a acetate representation of the normal Young Guns. And another thing that maybe people don't realize often is there's a different image. So on our screen, if you're watching on YouTube, we're showing the Kaprizov Young Guns acetate, where that is definitely a different image than is in his normal
Yeah.
Young Guns. So those are kind of the ways to tell. Now, the acetates are very pricey and
Yes.
very sought after, and there's a lot of set collectors. If you are a serious player PC, this is one that you would love to have. And didn't we just saw one of these at a local card show, didn't we?
Yeah, was it the Kaprizov?
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
BGS 8 though, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and we asked the guy why he went with BGS. Or if we didn't ask him, we were thinking about it, but
Probably. So like this one that we're looking at, the Kaprizov PSA 8, just to give people an idea of how expensive these get, last sold for 2,777 US dollars this past March. So
yeah.
are you a fan of the Young Guns acetate?
Yeah, I never seen one in person until that one we saw at the card show, and that just cemented my feelings about them. They look absolutely fantastic. And I was also one of those people at the beginning of our show when we started hearing about these that I had no clue. I didn't know what the difference between the Young Guns acetate and the clear cut. But as we've done this and as you've explained, I've kind of got it. But in hand, these cards look gorgeous. They're pretty sweet.
Well, I think a lot of the confusion comes from the fact that Young Guns Clear Cut
Yeah.
are acetate cards, and
Yeah.
so people will hear the acetate word referred to the clear cut, and then you have the Young Guns acetate, and they are somewhat similar, when looking at afar. But if you put them next to each other, we probably should have done that for YouTube. You can tell just how much
Yeah.
different they are. So one of my first favorite Easter egg is the Young Gun acetate. These are always unannounced, but and that's the funny thing about these kind of Easter eggs, that you'll find that they sort of fit into two categories. You'll have ones that come out of nowhere, like
Hmm.
one we'll talk about, and that are brand new, and then ones that are kind of there every year, but they're never announced. And so in Young Guns, I think acetate falls
Yeah.
into that category. It's, people have collected these for a long time.
Yeah.
The next one is a little bit of an older one, but I love this one so much, Troy. It is the Glow Peachy
Yeah, those are
that was
fantastic.
an insert in 2016-17 OPG paper, I believe.
Okay.
Whoever came up with the name Glow Peachy on a card that glows in the dark is a genius. And the design is awesome. It's not so much going on, very minimalist.
Yep.
There were 30 of these cards in the, I guess, the subset that was in the unannounced Glow Peachy that came out in 2016-17. No rookies though. So mostly
Uh,
I think veteran players like McDavid, McKinnon, Sidney Crosby, Ovechkin, and then there were a few retired legends. So the Gretzky, of course, was retired at that point. There's a Bobby Orr and a Pavel
yep.
Bure, I think, are the three that I found. So no rookies in that one. I don't have one of these, but after spending a lot of time, I spent way too much time going through all the different options. I think that I'm definitely gonna get one, and something like the Gretzky, they're not, like, ridiculously expensive,
Yeah.
Troy, so a raw Gretzky like this, I think, sold in the mid 4s, like 450 US range. The 2 most valuable ones would be the McDavid and the Gretzky, of course. Your thoughts on Glow Peachy?
Love Glow Peachy. I didn't actually know about these at all until you told me about them. And I would love to know if they still hold their glow in the darkness after what we're on 7 years. Because that'd be cool to have the whole set and then at night, turn your lights off and see what they all look like.
Oh, for sure. Well, that's one of the things that I thought of, big picture kinda concepts on Easter eggs in
Yeah.
working on the segment is kind of a cool PC project would
Yeah.
be either to collect a set like the glow, like all 30 of the glow peaches, or to pick a player that you want to do a player run of Easter eggs on.
Yeah.
I think I would have a lot of fun doing that. So I'm
Well, I
thinking
like
about that.
yeah, and I like that it's attainable. This isn't something that's gonna break your bank trying to put together. Maybe finding some will be hard. I don't know. I don't know if they're all available readily, but it's not gonna break your bank to try to put these together over time.
Mhm. Make some trades, do that
Yep.
kind of stuff too. Sometimes the hunt for those is fun.
Yeah.
The next one I put, and this one is I'm going to try so hard not to make this confusing, but it is inherently confusing. And I remember very, very well when I saw this card for the first time and I saw the price tag on it, and I'm like, "What the heck? What is this? Where did it come from?" So we have on our screen is from 2020-21 extended, and it's a tribute Young Guns for the 2002-3 design. Going back to our boy Kaprizov here, a very super short print.
Yep.
I think along with Kaprizov, there was 7 other players that got one of these. It was Lafreniere, Dylan Cozens, Ilya Sorokin, Stutzla, Alexander Romanov, who's kind of funny. You forget about
Yeah.
him, but I think he
Yeah.
was banked as a real big
Yep.
rookie, and let's just say that hasn't panned out. Bowen Byram and Josh Norris. So these are unannounced, super short print. They get very pricey. So a raw Kaprizov like this can go in like the $600-700 range. Maybe this is the one you should have bought, Trey.
No kidding. I should have bought that acetate one right away. Maybe I would
No
have.
kidding. You would have been, I think, happier with that. Okay, so here's where the confusion comes in. And I was all tied up in knots, and it's really hard too when you're looking at like sales history because
Hmm.
people will confuse these a lot. So it's not the only Young Guns tribute
Yep.
that they put in extended. And a lot of people have seen, I think, the more familiar Young Guns tribute for Kaprizov and other rookies in the 2022 hobby or 2020 hobby class as the 2005-6 tribute,
Yep.
which we're showing on the screen. Another amazing card, but these are much more common. I
Yeah.
think the odds of hitting one of these Young Guns tributes were 1 in 24 packs. There's 25 players on the checklist. So again, much more common to hit than the very super short print 2002, 2003
Which is
tribute
this one.
that
Yep.
yeah, that we were looking at before. But I just think that it's kind of cool that you can find some of these very limited, very tough hit
Yep.
tribute Young Guns. Are you a fan of those and extended?
Yeah. I like them. Just I hope Upper Deck's got to watch and make sure they don't go to the well too many times with with these.
Yeah, this is one that Upper Deck tends to do often. And now we talked about the confusion between the two different tributes and how one's much more common than the 2005-6 was much more common than the 2002-2003. The other thing that blows my mind, and I'm actually hoping someone will reach out and clarify this. So I looked at, if you look at the checklist for extended for 2021-22 and then the most recent 2022-23, both of them have a 2001 to unannounced, which they're calling a retro. Now they've changed it.
Okay.
Now it's not a tribute. That's the other thing that I don't understand when Upper Deck use, if there's any rhyme or reason to them
Yeah.
using the term retro versus tribute. And in both releases, they have the exact same checklist. It's the 2021 rookies and Cider, Zegers, Caulfield, Raymond. So I don't know if that's an issue with Beckett and Cardboard Connection a little bit, that maybe they're not updated, or
Mm.
if they released the same card in two different sets, or one was maybe thought to be in one set and wasn't in the other. But yeah, they're an extended. They do these very super short print, whether it's retro or tributes. And anytime you can get kind of another flavor of a Young Guns that isn't base,
Yep.
I'm kind of all about that. Okay, Troy, the next one is this is a challenge for me because I was giggling like an idiot all night last night. I know we're a family show. We're going to maintain that standard. So I just want everyone to know that there's going to be very obvious spots where there's a connection that could be made. A Joker is saying, I'm not going to do it, but just know, yes, I am thinking it. These are the Woodies that are unannounced Easter eggs found in OPG. They're cards that are made out of wood. And this one is from 2022-23, so the most recent release of OPG. There are 20 players in the Woody subset. I'm not going to say it. Just because it's really hard to do this, but then that in of itself is a sort of a bad pun. The only rookies, though, this year that that have a card that's a Woody is our Shane Wright, Matt Boldy, and Owen Power. Now, Woody's do go back to 2015 and 16, where the Gretzky ones, Troy, have sold for just under $500. I think the highest one was 476 US. You a fan of these?
I was hoping you were going to say that thing. Yeah, actually, I think they do look cool. I even liked in Artifacts, I think it was, I can't remember if it was the last release or two releases ago, where they kind of did that wood look. I can't remember if the card was actually called a wood, but I think those looked really nice too. And I like how these look. These are very interesting, minus the name, which gives us little giggles because we're children. But I think, Josh, I think it's best to just move on right now to the next one.
We're in our mid 40s and it's like 6 o'clock in the morning, and this is what we're doing with our lives. So that was my next favorite. And then the last one I picked out, Troy, is I think most people's sort of new favorite. It only what 4 or 5 months now it's been on the market. It's of course the 16-bit, which came out of a 2021-22 Allure. I did a kind of a survey on Instagram yesterday asking people what their favorite was. By far, this was the most common response. They're an obvious homage to video game systems for children of the 80s like us, even though apparently we're still children. I think they're awesome.
Yeah.
Pretty much universally loved. Great job, Upper Deck, on this insert. And honestly, I think this card has really done a lot to boost Allure. We've talked about Allure a little bit in that, man, it just hasn't kind of found its foothold, I think, on the secondary market.
Yep.
And it really needed something like this to prop it up a little bit. Do you agree with that?
Oh, agree 100%. I think everyone, or not everyone, but most people fell in love with these 16 bits when they came out. And to have them in a set like Allure is, I think, a stroke of genius because it puts a really tough chase, and a really cool card into a product that sometimes seems to go up and down on where it fits in and what the collectability of it is.
Yeah. these were really chased hard out of the gate
Yeah.
too. Like you're going for
Yep.
like almost $800 for the big ones, like Ovechkin and McDavid probably are the two most valuable ones
Yep.
to this point, and then Crosby maybe a little bit less. And there's guys like Kaprizov, Jack Hughes on the checklist for them as well. I think now you can get like this Ovi like this one or McDavid in the 350, 400 US range, which actually is a really interesting price point to me. And it's made me think about getting one. I don't have one yet. Do you?
No, I don't.
Um, so, yeah. Who would you get? Do you have one in mind? Like
Probably,
if
probably the Kaprizov, just because it's so wild.
okay, so how did I do? And did I do 4 instead of 5?
That would be perfect if you did.
That
Oh,
what a gong show this is. I think
let's count.
no
You did the
1, 2,
acetate.
3, 4. No, I did 5. Okay.
All right, there you go. You did 5.
I
Good
had a
job.
little panic attack. It's like I was doing this very late last night. So, anyone I forgot though? Is there any obvious Easter egg that you
um,
know of or love that you're like, why is this not on your list?
they're not. I don't know how chase they are, but I always liked the day with the cups. I thought those were interesting. And
Yeah.
then I liked that it was a, and I did some research on this too. Those 2014 15s, they came out with collegiate Young Guns tributes for I think 3 players. So they're Young Guns cards in their college jerseys. I thought that those are really cool too. I think it
Do
was
you remember what players those were?
Curtis Joseph was it. Let me see if I have a list. Uh, Curtis Joseph, Brian Leach, and Rob Blake, I believe.
Yeah. That might be something that would be fun too. Well, I guess in that specific example, you would have had to play college in the US, but no
Yeah.
reason why they couldn't do something for the OHL. But I wonder though too, like how much of a chase does that go back to not in the pro uniform sort
Yep.
of
Yep.
bias that some people have.
Yep.
Within doing this research, I like I mentioned a little bit ago, I did find some newer Easter eggs that
Yep.
I thought I would just bring out, maybe bring to some people's attention because I didn't know about any of these three.
Yeah.
So the first one that I found was going back to 2021-22 Allure. Actually, I asked Billy Cilio and he
Yep.
sent me this one. It's a blue china. So this
That's
Cole Caulfield rookie sold for 300 US on April 3rd, where it's kind of the basic Allure card, but the background image is like grandma's like china from her hutch in the
yep.
dining room that you weren't allowed to
Yep.
touch.
Yep.
So I think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, this looks great. I love this card, and it's true. It reminds me of like everyone had those grandparents. Everyone had a grandparent where they had the hutch of China, and you couldn't touch it. So this card it just reminds me of that.
Does Caulfield actually have a stick in that image, or did they?
Yeah, it's in his. I think it's in his far hand.
Oh, got you. Yeah, I wonder if they had taken that out. And actually, just speaking on this card, I guess a plus for it is it's actually a decent picture of Caulfield. And you're the
Yes.
one that pointed this out to me earlier. He may of any hockey player, he may have like the worst card images
Yeah,
ever.
his
So many of them are just
pictures.
weird, like he's pooping or
Yeah, they're
something like
not
that.
good. They're
I don't
not
know.
good.
Okay, the next one is I had no idea this one. It's the White House visit Easter eggs. This was
Oh,
in
gee.
series 2 of this year. So it's
Okay.
2022-23 Upper Deck. The Tampa Bay Lightning won sold for 21 US dollars on June 25th. I don't want to get political or anything like that. I don't really care about the politics of it. And so it's got the president, it's Biden. He's holding a
Yep.
Biden jersey. I'm sure if it was a Republican president, there would be that too. But uh kind of a cool Easter egg, I guess,
Yep.
to it's just so weird that the whole where I think, man, you go back 10, 15 years ago, the whole concept of like the White House visit was such a
Yeah.
big deal for a
Yep.
sports team, but now the whole thing seems just overly politicized. And
Yep.
if it's a Republican president, half the players don't want to go. If it's a Democratic president, half the players don't want to go. So I don't know about this one, but I don't know. What do you think?
Oh, it's cool. I like them.
Yeah.
They're cheap.
Then I found one in the most recent release, which is 2021-22 Credentials. That's just out within the last week. There may be more, but the one Easter egg I found is colorful characters. On the screen we have for YouTube is McDavid. So very 70s vibe. These don't go for huge money. And I think that's another thing to point out here too is that not every Easter egg is thousands of
Yeah.
dollars. When the Day with the Cup ones well, it's good to talk about those. Where are those unannounced though?
I thought they maybe were at the first. There's been a debate on Easter eggs too. It's like sometimes they'll be unannounced in that first release, but then going forward, they're always expected. Is that an Easter egg? I don't know.
I don't know. But the point still being on those is they're very tough odds and they go
Yeah.
for like $10,
Yeah.
which I think this is another one like the McDavid here for this colorful character is something like $40, $41,
Yeah.
something like that. I saw a sale for. So you can get that pretty cheap. But yeah, and I think that I'm kind of going out on a limb here, but almost every release seems to have Easter eggs now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it seems like we're always fun, and which is I think is great. Is cool. As much as it bugs me that I don't have the complete checklist or whatever, I do think it's kind of neat that they put these in. And I just want to say something. I know we got this picture from an was this from an eBay listing? Whoever took this
Yeah.
picture, fantastic job. Great picture.
Yeah, they make our life easy when you
Yeah.
do that. Now, this card, Troy, I'm sure you noticed, has your colored Upper Deck logo in it.
Yeah.
But does it blend enough into the colored background where it doesn't bother
I
you, or are you
will
still
well, you
very
know what?
anti-colored
Yeah.
Upper Deck logo on cards?
I'm still anti that logo on cards, but actually it's okay here because there's a lot of colors on it. And actually you could just it's part of the card. It's when it just becomes so prominent that I don't like that one because I think it takes away, it distracts from the actual card. This I think it looks fine.
The other thing, I guess the last thing that I thought of in this whole little project that we did to present these on the show is there is no central source or source
Yeah.
of truth for all the Easter eggs. And if we didn't have like a million things to do, I would say it'd be kind of fun to be the checklist for Easter eggs on our site. But man, I think that is an opportunity, right? To
Yeah.
create a resource for people because it's impossible to find. And a lot of the research I just did was searching Easter egg on Card Ladder or Terapeak, but a lot of people don't put Easter egg in
Yep.
the listing either. They just do SSP or SP or just list the card name too. So unless you pay super close attention to all these releases, it's really hard to understand what
Yep.
all the Easter egg options are. So again, I think that's an opportunity. Any closing thoughts on Easter eggs before we move on?
No, it was a fun segment to look at and do, and I like these segments too because we learn something. Like how many cards did I learn about here? That's awesome, and I'm glad we did it. I hope other people learn something new from this, and maybe there is a repository out there that someone knows about. If they do, let us know.
Definitely send us that. And if we missed any that you think are noteworthy, message us with those too. Okay, Troy, we're going to move on and make a quick mention for Slap Sharks. Thank you to them. They're a partner and sponsor of our show. The weekly Slap Sharks eBay auction is live with some amazing cards to choose from. You can find the auction by just Googling Slap Sharks eBay or going to slapsharks.com. So I spent some time yesterday looking through the auction and found some beauties, Troy, that I want to point out that people can bid on right now. The first one is a 2013 Nathan McKinnon Young Gun PSA 10. Why I think this card is actually interesting is for the level of player he is, right? We've talked about him before. He's kind of
Hmm.
second tier, not quite top tier, but obviously an amazing player. Won a Stanley Cup. The pop count on this is 1,346. And when you compare that to his contemporaries, the
Yeah.
McDavid, Ovechkins, Austin Matthews, Jack Hughes, Kaprizov, right? All these guys that kind of fit into that elite player category, it has to be one of the lowest pop counts. And so that makes it a little bit interesting to me. And he's a great player. 1,346 is pretty low.
Yeah.
Next card I found is, I think, really cool. I hadn't seen this card before. It's a
Yeah.
2005 SPX. It's SPX XPX Excitement. So it's, play on words there.
Yeah.
Out of 9.99. So I don't think it's going to be break the bank, right? But it is an Ovechkin rookie. I think it's a cool image, kind of an action shot. Looks like he's doing like a wrist shot or something like that. I don't know. I just like this card. Are you a fan of it?
Yeah. I think it looks really cool, and it's one again I didn't know about until you sent it to me. Looks really nice.
It's always fun to find new cards, like you
Yep.
talked about in their little Easter egg segment there. Next one I found, Troy, and this kind of stood out to me for a funny reason. It's
Yeah,
the
this one.
2021-22 Synergy Trevor Zegras. It's a rookie auto out of 5, so a really tough card.
Yep.
Now, tell me, look at this photo. I'll try to describe it for anyone that's listening, but tell me that this is not a I just got arrested at a frat party mugshot.
Yeah, it is. It totally gives off that vibe. Like it's a mug shot.
Yeah, it's
I
kind of
don't know
funny
what
though.
the card's great with the auto and the 4 out of 5. I just don't know what to think about it. The picture's odd. It's a profile. The synergy logo is too prominent. I don't know. It's an interesting card.
We're going to talk about Zegras in a little bit too. Kind of some interesting stuff going on with him right
Yeah.
now. And
Yep.
then lastly, this isn't going to break the bank. It's not super valuable, but come on, I had to throw this one in there. Look at the clean cut young man that Brent Burns was in 2003.
Yes.
Holy
This is
moly.
this is great. So here, if you're watching YouTube, get ready. Current, well, not current, within the last couple years, I think. It started. It's one of those before after photos you always see. But hey, Burns owns it. He's great. Good personality.
He has like boy man frosted tips in his young
Yeah.
guns portrait rookie photo there.
Yeah, that's great.
This is a card I'm just gonna have to get at some point. Just because every time I look at it, I think I would giggle.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's amazing. Lots of other great cards to bid on too. I just picked out a few, so be sure to again go to slabsharks.com, get a link to the auction, check out the bids. And then Troy, if you just happen to be a Canadian hockey card collector, and honestly, are there any Canadians that don't collect hockey cards? Is that part of your citizenship
Yeah,
there?
it's part of your citizenship. Even if you're born there, you have to collect hockey cards anyways. And if you become a citizen, you're immediately required to start collecting hockey cards.
So I guess if you are, and you are a Canadian citizen, we would suggest checking out Slabshark's eBay consignment services. Why? Well, they make selling your hockey cards on eBay easy and fun. Why is it easy? Because they do all the work. Why is it fun, you might be asking? Because you don't have to do the work. Right? Anytime you don't have to do work, that is fun. They take all the images, Troy. They list the cards. They answer annoying buyer questions from people like you. They hunt down payment from people like me. I don't know what that says about us. They package them up and ship them out to both Canada and the US, making sure you have the largest buyer pools for your cards. So for complete consignment information and to get started, head again to slapsharks.com. Thank you to them. Ready for hobby news? We have hobby drama.
Oh, I'm ready. Hold on. Let's fire it up. Here we go.
A couple of the biggest names in the hobby, Panini America, has filed an antitrust lawsuit against Fanatics. You like the picture that I whipped up
I
up
was
there?
hoping you say two of the biggest names in the hobby are getting in a slap fight over.
Oh, that's what they should do. Duke it out in a slap fight. So Panini America, the current trading card license holder for both the NBA and NFL, has filed an antitrust lawsuit against Fanatics. Here's a here's the quote that Fanatics has created an entirely new monopoly spanning multiple leagues and multiple player associations. Panini is claiming that Fanatics has engaged in calculated, intentional, anti-competitive conduct by securing the long-term. I think their agreements, and this surprised me a little bit, are like 20 years with all the leagues, 20 years ish that they've
Oh
signed
wow, I didn't
these
know that. That's a
exclusive
lot.
deals with. Here's what I don't get about that though.
I know where
So
you're going.
Panini is suing Fanatics because they did long-term exclusive deals, but that's what Panini currently has.
Yes.
So for the record, Panini has had the exclusive NBA license since 2009. That's 14 years, and the NFL since 2016, which is 7 years. So why is it antitrust monopoly and I'm not saying that it's great that any company has an exclusive license forever. So I'm not trying to make that point, but I'm trying to understand why it's anti-trustworthy from Panini's perspective that Fanatics is doing it when they did. Isn't it like pot calling kettle black here?
Yeah, that's totally that. It's because now Panini's out of the game, and they probably have looked at their product and what they have, and they're like finally figured that this is going to be their best shot, I guess, because you don't do this like lightheartedly. They've had to like figure this out and decide this was a good decision. But yeah, it's Panini's suing because it affects them now, the other instead of the other way around.
Panini also alleges Fanatics has used false derogatory statements about Panini and poached its employees in an effort to create insurmountable barriers to entry in the trading card business. So here's what I kind of get, I think, a little bit more. So I think from the Fanatics perspective, they're really a logistics company. They're kind of
Yeah.
like Amazon when you think about it, right?
Yep.
Where they made their fortune on just not necessarily producing like the jerseys and stuff like that, just having great logistics and being able to get them to fans quickly anywhere and everywhere. And then started manufacturing too, I
Yeah.
believe, after that. So they're coming into a brand new industry, and it's not like there's a million sources to tap people that have a lot of knowledge working for a trading card manufacturer. So to me, it's a little bit natural that they would go after maybe some employees for Panini, but it's also very much a direct shot when you start quote unquote poaching employees. And then the other thing I would throw into this before we get your comments on it is I think, again, both of us come from the tech world in our professional careers. And I think what's been largely proven over the last 10 years is that, especially like when you have any tie to California, any sort of non compete covenant are largely unenforceable.
Yeah, they've always been kind of I've laughed at it because there's no way that would hold up in court. And it's starting to fall apart, these non-compete clauses and everything. You can't limit someone's ability to work. I don't care what agreement you signed. And I think Minnesota, we actually passed a law that said non-competes are not enforceable in our state. And I think
Really?
other states, yeah, I'm pretty sure we did. And other states are starting to do that. And I don't know if it'll get that to the federal level in the US. Again, sorry, Canadian listeners, for going over US legalese, but yeah, I agree. This is just an interesting lawsuit. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out in the courts. But maybe I'm jumping a little bit ahead, but I figured this would come at some point. I didn't think it would be Panini. I thought it'd be the governments like the EU or the US government or Canadian government. I thought that's where this would happen. I didn't think it'd be another company taking the step to do it like Panini.
Probably the most famous antitrust case of our lifetime, it would be the Microsoft one, which was a long time ago
Yeah.
now. And was it the government that brought the
Yep.
antitrust? Okay, so it was
Yeah.
government in that case. Well, Troy, Fanatics slap back.
Yep.
Here's what they said: Panini's lawsuit is a baseless, last gap, flailing effort by a company that's lost touch with consumers. It's failing in the marketplace and has tried unsuccessfully for years to sell itself. Fanatics, which is their quote, they made a statement to ESPN where I got this information from. Panini is trying to blame Fanatics for its own inability to keep pace with what players, fans, and even its own employees want. Holy smokes.
Yeah. That's a shots fired, I guess, right there.
And I think they plan to countersue, which
Yes.
is what's interesting too about this, and maybe it goes back to your point about the government not being a part of this, is a lot of times these cases come down to leverage, financial
Hmm.
leverage, and who can outlawyer and outspend who. And
Yep.
I would have to think that Panini America
Yes.
would be at a significant disadvantage in this case. So it's a David versus Goliath
Yeah.
kind of proceeding in my mind.
Yep. I agree 100%. I don't know how it's going to play out, but I know Fanatics has a lot more resources, and it will be interesting. I can't wait till the actual court documents to come out in this case.
Depositions and
Yeah,
any of that gets
depositions,
released.
evidence, all that stuff. It'll be unless they like seal it, but I don't think they can with it being they probably could, but whatever.
You might be thinking, as a hockey card collector, why does this matter?
Yeah.
I think that this will have ramifications down the road and could
Yep.
affect whatever happens to Upper Deck someday if their license is challenged or gets competitive next time it comes up for renewal with the NHL. And so yeah, it won't directly affect the hockey hobby today, but anything legal where there's a precedent that's set, it can impact hockey down the road.
Yep.
Would you agree with that?
Agree 100%. As you're saying that, I kind of started thinking too. I wonder. I can't remember off the top of my head. I should look it up, but in the video game world, we've had EA Sports has had the NFL license forever with Madden football. I mean, long as I can remember, it's been Madden football. And I wonder if they got sued at the beginning because I know NFL 2K, I think, was out there. And then when they signed the exclusivity, the Madden or NFL did with EA, what happened there? Because it's kind of correlates to this a little bit.
Mhm. All right, we will obviously us and the rest of the hobby will keep watching that with great attention. This next one surprised me a little bit. I feel like came out of nowhere. Kind of makes sense, but it's kind of funny too. So Troy, the Edmonton Oilers have hired Connor McDavid's agent as their new CEO. So Jeff Jackson, the longtime agent for McDavid,
Yeah.
has been hired as their CEO of hockey operations. Ken Holland will continue his role as Oilers president of hockey operations and general manager. So they have a lot of leadership,
a
seems
lot
like,
of
on the hockey side.
yeah,
Maybe
a
you
lot
could
of
be the VP of hockey operations. I didn't see that. And the CEO of fixing their goalie situation, Troy.
oh,
You
maybe.
apply for that
Yeah,
job.
I'll just send them nasty emails and get paid a lot of money.
So here's some quotes from the new Oilers CEO, Jeff Jackson. Who in this room doesn't want him? He's talking to McDavid to be an
Yeah.
Oiler for life. I think at the end of the day, Connor has 3 years left on his deal. Him, Leon, Draisaitl, Nuge for Ryan Nugent Hopkins, Nursey for Darnell Nurse. They're all striving to win, Jackson said. That's going to be the biggest driver. I have a very close relationship with Connor. It's going to be a different relationship now, but I think ultimately the goal is to keep this team, this core group together. And I think there's a lot of runway for success for a number of years. So, number one, McDavid's going to, I'm assuming, have to find a new agent. And then
Yeah, I
I
think
think the
so.
other sort of obvious question that you would ask with this story is when you look at the decision for Oilers owner Daryl Katz to bring on Jeff Jackson as the CEO, you have to assume that part of that is in an effort to make sure that McDavid doesn't walk from the Oilers, right?
Agree 100%. It sounds like McDavid and his agent have a pretty tight relationship. You said it. This is to me so odd. I wonder if there's precedence. Has anyone else ever done this? But when you sent me this article, I was like, "What? His agent's becoming the CEO of the Oilers?" That was just very interesting. Yeah, obviously, I think he's got to right. McDavid has to find a new agent because you can't have the agent be the CEO negotiating with the player. That's a little conflict of interest.
I would assume that's prohibited by the
Yeah,
NHL.
I agree with you 100%. Yeah, I think it's totally a move to keep McDavid.
Okay, our last story in hobby news is about Trevor Zegras. We mentioned him, teased that a little bit
Mhm.
earlier. You got to change the image, Troy, because I just love the picture that I found for this one. So the
Oh,
key
I don't
question
have
is
I don't have an image for this one.
okay.
Sorry, I've
Oh, no, no
lost it.
worries. When will Trevor Zegras resign? He is a restricted free agent, which I wasn't aware of, actually. I guess I hadn't been paying attention. And we're into August, and he has not signed his new deal. So I think on the heels of Troy Terry signing, he was another restricted free agent, but did have arbitration rights, signed a 7-year deal within the past week to help avoid arbitration, and that put the spotlight on Zegras a little bit there, and media has been reaching out. And I also think, Troy, when you read the articles kind of talking about his contract situation, that Zegras is definitely right now using the media to try to get this situation resolved because he's flat out saying at this point, I'm not going back to Anaheim until I have a new deal.
Yeah,
There it is.
I found it.
Awesome. So I don't know if anyone should be hitting the panic button. I mean, it's still August. What is training camp a month or so away yet? But if you're an Anaheim fan or a Zegras collector, are you a little bit worried at this point that he doesn't have a deal? Or are you pretty confident that it would just seem to me, Troy, really dumb for them when they got a new
Yeah,
coach, they're trying to build something to have a lockout with your star player or have him be holding out from training camp is probably not the ideal situation.
agree. I think eventually they'll get it done. This always happens. We see this all the time where all of a sudden the rumblings start and they start using the media to go back and forth. I think if Anaheim, if they truly believe Zegers needs to be a part of that team, they're going to sign him. It's just going to play out and hopefully it gets done before training camp so you don't have him having to miss or skip training camp when that starts. But yeah, I think it would be crazy for them not to bring him back right now.
And he is using the media because he's
Yeah,
been
yeah.
very frontal in his quotes. Here's one of them. He says, "Obviously, I'd like to go back there with my teammates, but it's out of my control." Right. So you're not throwing those. That's a calculated move. You're not throwing those quotes out to the media unless you're
Yeah.
trying to pressure the team to getting your deal done. Okay, you want to play NHL GM for a minute? I got a question for you about
All
this.
right.
I was thinking about his deal, and he's got a lot of potential. He's very flashy. He's going to sell jerseys. He's going to sell tickets. But at this point, with given how bad the team is, how much growth he still needs to develop as a player, if you're a GM, are you super comfortable going all in on Trevor Zegras and doing a 8-9 year deal at 8-9 million dollars a year? Probably, I'm guessing, is what he would ask for. Or would you try to get him to sign a shorter term deal and then maybe have to deal with a contract situation a few years from now? I guess, what's your confidence level at this point about this kid and how big of an impact he's going to have on the game to go big on a contract?
Yeah, I think if I'm the NIGM, I probably do got to sign him long term. It's just the nature
Really?
of the beast. Because if you, I don't, I think if you don't, he's gone. So you sign him short term. I think he'll see that as a slight. And at Zegras, I think he's pretty in tune to what's going on out there. I think he would walk after that, and I don't want to deal with that. But again, you have to have confidence in him that he can be a piece of your team and contribute significantly if you're going to give him that much money. If that's not the case, then hey, it's either short term or sign a trade or do something like. Well, I guess is he a free? You said he's a restricted free agent.
Restricted free agent.
Yeah. So I don't know all the rules behind that, but I think I would probably be going to try to get him long term. But I mean, the team has nothing, right? Or they have very few pieces right now, and I think you need to keep him around.
This is just kind of reading between the lines too, but he also had a lot of quotes about, I think the guy's Cronin, who they hired as a coach. And it seems like that Anaheim was very deliberate in hiring a teacher,
Yeah.
that because which makes sense, right? They've got a very young team, they've got a lot of growth to do. But when you go back, and if you're a Zegers fan or interested, his quotes were very interesting to me. They were all positive about the new coach, but he used a lot of words like very intense,
Hmm.
which I don't know, is, and he kind of,
Yeah.
I think, tried to paint that in a positive light, but part of me wonders too if he's 100% bought into this coach. We'll just have to see
True.
there. But
True.
another
And
story for us to
yeah, I was
follow.
gonna say another thing with Zegers too. I think I read that he was working with Adam Oates this offseason. I can't remember if it was Adam Oates, but if it is, Oates is one of those, I don't know, skill player specialty whisperers that a lot of NHL players use to work
Really?
with them. Yeah. And Oates, I'm pretty sure it's him. I put a quote. He's like, we need Zegers to develop more of his game, his complete game, right? You don't
Yeah.
want to take away the flash, but it can't just be all flash. He's got to have other components, which is a good sign, I think.
The quotes about the coach were a lot about the defensive end and
Yeah.
where he needs to improve. And what Zegras was saying is that he's game to do that. So, that should be good news if you're an Anaheim fan. I know he's working out with Chris Kreider from the
Okay.
Rangers. So they had a bunch of quotes about Kreider's pushing him in the weight room, all that kind of off-season talk
Yeah,
stuff.
cool.
Okay, Troy, it's a big moment for you. We're gonna move on to new product releases. Is now, where does Stature fall in your favorite sets? Is it
Oh, it's at the top. It's near the top. I love Stature. I think it's a great set.
the checklist is out for 21, 22, and you're gonna break it down for us like you always do.
I am. So I'm gonna apologize if I have to like flip back and forth and look weird because obviously I'm trying on my little tiny screen here. But yes, 21, 22 Stature checklist is out. Got the email. Josh sent it to me. I was super excited. I am a huge fan of Stature. I love how the cards look. I really like the design of them. But first of all, and I kind of mentioned this either last show or the one before, Pecorine, Josh, is in this set. Everyone should be excited. There are 22 different Pecorine cards, 6 of these cards being auto, and even better, all 6 are auto patches and are serial numbered.
Wow.
So, of those 6 cards, since they're all serial numbered, I know that there's only 23 total copies of those 6 cards. So, I'm going to have to start my hunting early and make sure I don't miss them because there's not going to be a lot of them.
How many messages are we gonna get from people that pull
Hey,
Pecorine cards? We're
great.
gonna get
I hope people send messages and let me know that these are out there. And I went on a Pecorine hunt in this checklist, excluding the base card of the other 15 non-auto patch cards. The rest are all serial numbered as well.
wow.
For for a total of 601 of those cards. So you exclude the base, you add in those patch autos I talked about. There's 624 copies of Pekka Rinne cards. That's like, it's kind of nice to know these numbers. Obviously, I don't know what the base is, but besides that one base card, there's 624 other Pekka Rinne cards in the set.
So
But
for the
anyways,
43 people in the world that care,
I
here
know,
is
it's
your
just like,
Pekka Rinne breakdown
I
that
wonder if
only
half the
Troy could
people,
do.
half the people have turned off the show right now. But all right, we're done with the Pekka Rinne portion of the checklist. It's out of the way. Let's get to the rest of it. All right. So with Stature, there's, they have the focus on the design elements, the variations. There's autos. So if we look at the base set, it's 200 cards total, broken down as 100 vets and legends. So that's one category, 100 vet and legends, and then 100 serial numbered rookies. And again, Josh, that's the big rookie number, right? 100, not always the best to
Yeah,
have that
I
many.
love sets that have a 50 rookie checklist. When you get to 100, it just means that there's lots of uh, names that probably will
Yep.
never do much in the league. Okay, so I got to ask you a question right off the bat. We're
Yeah.
looking on YouTube here, and it looks like a Connor McDavid, either base or parallel.
This is a black
What
parallel.
or black parallel? What's your thoughts on the design of 2021 compared to 2020?
I think I like 2020 a tad better, but I still love the funkiness. I really like the design. I always called it what, like red, what's the, we can't never remember the word, but
Steampunk.
it's like steampunk. I want to say
Yeah.
cyberpunk because I had to actually delete cyberpunk from my computer to get some room for video. But I always want to say steampunk, but yeah, or cyberpunk, but it's steampunk, yeah. And I do like this design, but I did like the last year design a little better.
Okay. I like this year's design.
Okay. Okay, so the base set, again, 100 vets plus legends, and then 100 serial numbered rookies. Both sets will have green, red, blue, and black parallels. On the screen is a black parallel of a base card for Connor McDavid. Then we get into the chaos of this whole release, and there's a little complexity that's brought into this to the whole design. So there are now three different variation types for each set. We have base photo variants out of 99 that will also have green, red, blue, and black parallels. We also have base design variants, which are out of 65, and those will have red and purple parallels. If you're watching on YouTube, on the style sheet, I'm showing the Austin Matthews red design variant. Design
That's a
variant
cool
red.
looking card. I really like
It
that card.
is. They are really cool looking. So we have the base photo variant, we have the base design variant, and Josh, guess what? There's a third one, the base design and photo variant, serial numbered out of 22, and these will have red and purple parallels. It's very hard to convey that through words, and the sell sheet didn't have all examples of all the cards. So go look at the checklist if you want to try to figure out how they're wording these. It's very complex, and I was very confused at first. I think I've kind of figured it out, but I would love to see pictures of each one when they only give you the Matthews for the base design variant. It's kind of difficult, but just know that. So an interesting little twist on the cards this year. And I believe I can't remember if that's new or they did that last year. I apologize. All right, next we got the autographs. So a base autographs are 1 out of 16 packs for the first half of the checklist. Rookie autographs are numbered to 199 or 99. Parallels for all of those autographs include green, red, blue, and black. I'm going to put up a little picture. There's the Zegras. I can't remember what that one is. That's the blue. What's it out? About a 5, yeah. And I'm sorry, I'm not reading the serial numbers of each. That'll take too long. There are also photo variant autographs that land 1 every 32 packs for vets and legends. And the rookies of the photo variant autographs have just 49 copies of each of those. And then we have additional parallels for the rookies are green, red, blue, and black.
Can I say something controversial?
Oh, let's hear it.
I feel this way a lot about these are sets I like too. So I just want to say that. With OPG Platinum too.
They're confusing.
I just
Oh.
I don't know if I tend to like cards without autos from these sets better because like with Platinum, what they have to do is the cards are so glossy that they have to, in order to create a space for the player to sign, they have to like frost it or dull it out
Yeah.
a little bit, and I find that piece now distracting. Now I know that like the auto would smear off or probably bubble if they didn't do it or get lost in the card. And so I don't know. I just think it's kind of like seismic golds or the OPG parallels. Like I would take probably a seismic gold out of 50 versus a seismic gold auto out of 25,
Yeah. And one thing to know about Stature too, they are on card autos. That's a
which is
that's
a
just
plus.
yes, which is a plus. Okay. So what are we about? We were on the photo variants land. All right. There's design variants also, which have autographed memorabilia versions, all of which have serial numbers. Red patch and 101 purple patches are also included. And I'm going to show one of those on the YouTube. This is like the Lucas Raymond.
That's
The,
awesome.
yeah, the design variant with the autograph memorabilia. It looks really cool card. And the one they used for the example is awesome. It's got the match and everything. But yeah, you can see how they, if you're looking at the YouTube, how they kind of have to fade the middle so that autograph, whatever the
Yeah.
procedure is. All right, we also have design and photo variant autograph patch versions also. Veteran and retired players are numbered to 5. Rookies have 8 copies each. And there's also further parallels of red and purple. So again,
Here's what
if
I'm
that
getting so far is that when you pull a big card and if you want to sell it on eBay or My Card Post or someplace like that,
Yep.
you're going to have to do some checklist
Yes.
research to figure out
Yes.
what you actually have.
Yes. You're definitely gonna have to do some work. It's not gonna be just as easy. Now, this Josh gets back to wouldn't it be great if they put it on the back of the card? We'll
Ooh,
have that debate again. All
yes,
right.
sir.
For inserts, we have rookie excellence, which are one every 2 packs and are for standout first year players. They'll have parallels in green, red, blue, and black. There's also going to be rookie excellent autographs, which are one every 14 packs and have their own parallels green, red, blue, and black again. And then we will also have rookie excellent patch auto cards, which will have red and purple parallels. I'm going to show one of those because that was on the sell sheet. There it is. Looks really cool. I kind of like the dual patch window. I like that.
That is cool.
All right,
Angular
another
kind of.
yeah. It looks. I think they look really neat or
What is
really
that? Is that
cool.
a trapezoid? Is that what that's called?
Parallelogram,
Mm,
right?
parallelogram. Okay.
I think we're going to go back to math. There's
Geometry.
also the insert legendary heights, which are one every 4 packs, and these are exclusively for all-time greats. And then Gravitas is back one every 4 cards or one every 4 packs with another collection of veteran stars. And I have an example of that. There's the Gravitas. I don't know. I have to see this compared to last year's. Last year's I wasn't that big of a fan of, and I don't know if I'm a big fan of this one either, but we'll see how they look in hand. All right, parallels for Legendary Heights and Gravitas are similar with green, red, blue, and blacks. Legendary Heights autographs are one in every 115 packs, while Gravitas autographs are one in every 130 packs. And I have an example of there's a Legendary Heights autograph, Patrick.We.
That's a cool
Looks,
card.
yeah, it looks very cool. All right, where is it? Yeah, and they also have green, red, blue, and black signatures are also randomly inserted along with patch autographs, and this is on the Legendary Heights and Gravitas with red and purple parallels. So again, there's a ton to digest here. It's really hard to get a sense of that checklist from what I just read. So you'll have to probably go out, look at the sell sheet, look at the checklist that's provided that you can find my Cardboard Connection and Beckett. So
It's a good way to put it that there's like the most parallels of probably any set that's
it's
made.
I think it might be. And I'll tell you, I'm going to get into the stat next, but if you look at the overall 21-22 stature release, there's 6,294 different cards. That's the biggest I remember reading, but there might have been another set that had more. But there's a ton of cards in this thing. And there's also some 2020 update cards. Not a lot, but there are some in there.
That's a lot of cards. I think just going off memory, when you've given that stat before, a lot of times it's in the 4,000
Yeah,
range,
it's
3,000
like
range.
4 to 5 seems where they're usually
Okay.
falling. But again, we are idiots and can't remember half the stuff we talk about. All right, cards per pack 8. packs per box. One, this is a 1-pack box. Just remember that. And if you buy a case, you get 16 boxes. The hobby box breakdown is 2 base cards, 2 numbered parallel cards, which includes 1 numbered 66 or less, 1 base set rookie card, 1 Gravitas, Legendary Heights, or Rookie Excellent insert, 1 autograph card, 1 additional base set rookie, or a numbered parallel, or an autograph card. And I do Stature's kind of I do like how you can pull 2 autographs sometimes. You're
Yes.
guaranteed 1, but sometimes you get 2. It's kind of nice, especially with a 8 card box, basically.
We watched a lot of breaks that had 2020 Stature, and am I remembering correctly that the packs that had 2 autos generally weren't great though?
Yeah, agree. I think so. That was the main thing we saw. Tentative release date is showing as August 16th of 2023. Dave and Adams and Steel City in the US are showing a pre-release price of $129.95 US. Clouts and Chara is showing $179.99 Canadian. And 401 Games in Canada has it at $174.95 Canadian.
Is 130? Is that what 2020 came out at too? Is that close to it?
It sounds close to it. I can't remember, and I didn't look, but
safe to say you'll be buying some.
I'll be buying some.
Yeah, figured as much. Cool. Well, great overview. Yeah, very complicated one. Not really straightforward. It's like they have this card, and here's the 67,000 different parallels of it, and I'm just going to spew off out of base variant, base photo variant, triple variant, quadruple variant, ice cream variant. Okay, we're going to move on to some ePack news, Troy. 2022-23 Series 2 is now available on ePack. I believe this is as of a couple of days ago. So you can buy single packs for like $5.49 US, $5.49. Hobby boxes for about $125 US. I think the most noteworthy aspect of really any flagship product going on ePack is now that we're gonna have people start working on those silver foil and speckled rainbow foiled Young Guns. So if you're not familiar, if on ePack you have 5 base Young Guns, those can be combined to create a silver Young Gun. So you lose the 5 base, you end up with 1 silver. And if you take 3 silvers, that's when you get that speckled rainbow, which, as anyone's seen, whether it be on eBay sales histories or any other secondary market report, those go for a lot of money because essentially you have to burn 15 base Young Guns to get one. So if you've got a hot rookie that these Young Guns sells raw for $100, so you roughly got $1,500 in cost to create that speckled rainbow. In case anyone's forgot, so Series 2 of this year, 22-23, has Young Guns like Juraj Slavkovsky, Wyatt Johnston, Andrea Kuzmenko, Shane Wright, Arbor Jackeye, Dylan Gunther, and then, Troy, I almost forgot. Troy's favorite deranged mascot, Bowie.
Oh, there he is.
You're in Seattle right now, too. How ironic is that? So are you going to get that Bowie Young Gun speckled rainbow, Troy? Is that
the only way I'm getting it? Only way I'm getting it is if it goes for sale on eBay. I am not putting together anything on ePack.
The other kind of fun part about ePack, of course, is there's special achievement cards and achievement sets that you can work on by buying packs, boxes, and cases, and pulling cards yourself, trading with other collectors. I think for Series 2, there's something like 16 different achievements that you can check out. For details, just go to Upper Deck's ePack website. Some are limited to the first like X amount of people that can complete the task to get the reward. Others, I don't think there's limitations on. In general, I'm a big ePack fan. Love the convenience. Love that you can earn and achieve kind of cool special cards like the speckled rainbow. But I think, though, what you have to balance with this release versus like the physical hobby boxes that you could buy, whether at your local LCS or buy online, at this point are quite a bit cheaper than $125 US dollars. Just as a point of reference, I looked up on Dave and Adams, 95 US right now for a Series 2 hobby box. So it's a $30 premium on the ePack website. And I think, too, weren't these like you weren't at the National. That's right. I was there. I think these were really cheap at the National, like 80 to 90 bucks.
Yeah.
Too. So my question to you is, there are advantages with ePack. We kind of assume that Upper Deck prices ePack a little bit higher to protect their LCSs too, right? So that they don't want to be perceived at, oh, it's a better deal to buy cards for us directly. But what do you think about that 125 US price point? Would that shy you away at all from buying? Just talking about your personal opinion here,
Yep.
buying any boxes on ePack, or do you think, well, with all the additional like chases and achievements that you don't really care that it's a little bit more?
I would personally, I'd gravitate towards the physical boxes anyways. So I would
Yeah,
save the money and buy the physical box. Unless I was really into the achievement chasing, then I would do ePack, but I'm not. So I would buy a physical box.
I kind of lean that way too, but I get
Yeah.
it. I get the whole
Yeah,
ePack thing.
I do. It's a cool thing. And there's people out there that we know that love ePack and they put together all those achievements and that this is for them. Go for it. I just like physical cards better too.
Totally get that.
Right. I mean, and you can't get physical cards on ePack, right? You get them sent to you, but not the base usually. Unless,
You like the process of opening a
yep.
pack and being a very tactile kind of in-person
Yeah.
experience. And that's
And hanging my head in disappointment when I don't hit anything.
yeah, we do that a lot. Last reminder, new product releases is 2023-24 MVP comes out this Wednesday. So we thinking a Bedard redemption bonanza, Troy, or in your
I'm
mind, do you think the
guessing.
hobby will play it a little cool here?
I don't know. I don't know what to think. I bet there'll be some kind of bonanza though.
Well, I was curious. So last night, I should have done this earlier because I didn't give it a full 24 hours, but we've had a lot of respondents. I threw up a quick Instagram poll asking about this specific redemption, which is the number one draft pick redemption. I'm assuming that'll be the big Bedard card out of MVP. And
Yeah.
so I asked collectors, when this card goes for sale inevitably on eBay day one, what do we think it's going to command from a value standpoint? So the options were less than 250 US dollars, 251 to 500 US dollars, 501 to 750 US dollars, or more than 750 US dollars. So what would you guess, Troy, that collectors think out of those options? So less
I
than
would
250, 250 to 500, 500 to 750, or more than 750.
I'm gonna say I would say less than 250.
Really? That was the
That
least voted
see,
response at 11%.
I don't know. Why am I souring on it? Maybe I'm becoming a bitter old man, but so what
I thought you were a Bedard Bobo. What's
I am a
going on here?
Bedard Bobo, but I want the other stuff, not
You want the
MVP.
good
Maybe it's
stuff.
just because I'm not an MVP guy. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, 11% said less than 250 US dollars. The biggest band or whatever that was 250 to 500 that had 35% of the vote, but very strong. It was even 27% for 500 to 750 or more than 750.
Yeah.
So actually, collectors are fairly split on this. It makes sense because we're in uncharted waters here. We have
Yeah.
no idea what. Now, can you imagine if these go for like $2,000
Oh
or something like
jeez.
that?
Maybe I should just that. Think of the payoff on that. Those MVP boxes are pretty cheap.
I'm gonna have to clear out my calendar that Wednesday because I'm gonna be refreshing just out of
Yep.
just stupid curiosity the
Yep.
whole time as to I can't wait to see what these go for. Part of me thinks that well the obvious choice would be people go crazy, but I wonder if people are just kind of waiting for that young guns or waiting maybe for
Mhm.
some of those artifacts redemptions
See,
to
that's
come.
what I thought, but maybe I'm wrong.
We'll see what happens. I need to make a quick mention for PWCC, Gongshow partner and sponsor. Want to thank them, of course, for their support of our show. Very appreciative for everything that they do for us. The August PWCC premiere auction begins this upcoming Thursday, which is August 10th. So stay tuned for that, as there's always some amazing cards in the auction. The PWCC Weekly is live, though, and you can check out the cards in this week's auction by heading to pwccmarketplace.com. I was going to say Troy and I, but Troy, you'll probably be in the belly of a grizzly bear by Thursday's show. That happens in Alaska, right? All those movies about guys that go to try to pet grizzly
Yeah.
bears, they end up getting eaten. So just keep that in mind. So our unannounced, we're sweating it hard, special guest and I will review our favorite vintage of modern cards in the current PWCC Weekly. If you're looking for cards right now and don't want to wait for an auction to end, don't feel bad. I get that way too. Then
Mhm.
try their fixed price marketplace where there's like 5,000 or something hockey cards you can choose from there. And then also this upcoming Sunday night, Jeremy Lee and I will wax poetically. Well, he'll wax poetically, and I'll probably wax awkwardly about the best hockey cards closing in the current PWCC Weekly on Jeremy's YouTube channel, Sports Cards Live, that starts at 8:30 Central Time. Mailbag time.
All
So
right,
one of the
man.
things we got to get used to, I think, Troy, now that we're YouTubers as well as audio podcasters, we always call this listener mailbag.
Yeah.
So I've been training myself Gongshow mailbag.
There you go.
I don't think anyone can ask us a question maybe they could in the comments, I guess, by YouTube.
Yep.
Got some good questions this week. Excited to get through them. So we're going to start with Facebook and Norman Guitard, I think is the way you say it. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, but if you've listened to the show, then why are you surprised? He says, my question, why is it when selling cards, everyone wants to pay less than comps? But if a card sells on eBay for $50 plus 20 shipping plus tax, card in hand for the buyers over $80. But buyers only want to pay less than $50, shipping included, in a private marketplace. Never really get this. Well, Norman, I think it just comes down to that when two parties are negotiating, every party wants to start with the most advantageous deal to them, the biggest possible win. And part of a negotiation is to meet somewhere in the middle. One of the things that I kind of think about in these situations, did you ever watch that show Pawn Stars, Troy, on
Oh yeah.
and it's kind of one of the things I picked up on that is when and how they actually negotiate. So somebody comes in and says, I want $500 for this item. And they're like, 250. No, I'll pay you 250.
Yep.
And then they say, well, how about you give me instead of 500, 450. They'll say 260. Right.
Yep.
It's like, so like they just like very inch up their tactic. And so I was kind of use sort of that mentality when I'm negotiating. But at the end of the day, it's a deal, and both parties have to be satisfied. And so my best advice as a buyer and a seller really is to either pick the price you're willing to buy or pick the price you're willing to sell. And if you want to start a little bit higher or lower to try to get the better deal for yourself, go ahead. But you're not going to do every deal.
Yep.
Sometimes people just, if the card is comping at $100 and they're asking for 150 and that's what they're willing to take, then you just got to walk away if you're not willing to
Yeah.
pay that.
Yeah, and I get his question too on like adding the shipping and stuff. Some people, I think a lot of people just forget about that piece, and it's just truly what the the card sells for as the absolute price sometimes, and we forget about all the other stuff. And you'll get to the next question, which has a little more info on that or another way to look at that. But agree, it's just a negotiation, and it's human nature to always want to get stuff for cheaper than what you think the comp is, and
Mhm. Okay, yeah. The next question is another one from Facebook. Peter Jortsma. Is a true comp what the card sold for on eBay, or is the comp 13% less because of eBay fees? I'll kind of start again.
yeah.
Obviously, very related to the last question, but it just comes down to your perspective and position. If I'm a seller, I'm probably going to conveniently forget the fact that there's the 15 or 13% commission, essentially,
Yeah.
or fee that you're paying eBay. And if I'm a buyer, I'm absolutely reminding the seller of that
Yep.
point, saying, hey, this is a private sale. If you sold this card on eBay and it sells for $100 or so, it's really
Yep.
87. So maybe let's meet at, I'll pay you 90. That
Yep.
means you get a little bit better of a deal than you could on eBay, but I'm saving money too. So to me, that's like how I try to create maybe a win-win situation. You got
Yep.
thoughts on this?
No, I agree 100% with that.
Okay, next question from Facebook. Kevin Peters. Good question. Is Upper Deck Allure cards a good card to start collecting? So, Kevin, well, first of all, I think this is a bit of a loaded question, not in a bad way, but if you love Allure cards, then yes, of course. Actually, this is how Troy and I
Yep.
got back in. We got kind of smitten with 2020
Yep.
Allure. And so collect what you love. If you're asking me, though, for my sort of set analysis perspective, we talked a little bit about this too with 16-bit when we were going over Easter eggs, is for whatever reason, Allure is still catching on respect wise with other sets. It doesn't have the same gravitas as other sets do, and maybe even in that price point. But they are cool cards, and that, as we mentioned, that 16-bit Easter egg has really elevated their set, although it's very rare. So don't buy a lure expecting to hit a 16-bit. I don't know, the Trey. Would you recommend a lure as a set to start collecting, or is it even possible to accurately
Yeah,
recommend a set?
I don't think it's accurate to give a really good answer, but because you have to look at the cards, and if you like how they look, you like what they're doing with the set, I think yeah, go ahead and collect it. I do like what they're doing with the connected rainbow
Yeah, those are awesome.
parallels. I think those look really cool. I like the 16-bit, and like you said, we got into Allure a lot, and I have probably an unhealthy amount of like Ottinger autos from the 2020 Allure. But if you like how the cards look, I do like them, and I didn't buy as much of the last release, but it's a set I'm interested in. I keep watching. So
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
excited to see how it evolves.
yeah,
So if you think the cards are cool and like them, it's definitely not. I would never recommend not doing it. So go
yeah.
ahead, Kevin. Buy it up all you want. Next question is from Instagram from Bretsky13. Do you think hockey cards will end up in a similar value area as football and baseball cards over time? I don't. And it's not because well, it's really because I think that the sport honestly will in the US will never be as popular as baseball and football. And that's where probably the biggest growth opportunity is.
Yeah,
I do think though, Bretsky, that hockey hobby can grow and it will grow. And then it can close some of the gap. I just don't think it will usurp them in any stretch. I also think that because the hockey hobby is more collector driven, that there's a chance, at least anyways, that prices continue to be more stable. So you're not going to have the big runs, but you're also not going to have the big falls.
yeah,
Remember when I say that only a crazy person would say they can predict the any sort of market of whatsoever, and nobody absolutely gets it right. So don't cash in Timmy's college fund based
yeah,
on my opinion there. But
yeah. Agree.
anything
I
else to
don't.
add?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it will be as big as football or baseball. I just don't see that happening.
Next question from Instagram Top Shelf Cookie Sniper Podcast. Go check out Jay, go check out his podcast. It's a new podcast. We love the fact that there's new hockey content creators and definitely want to support anyone that is trying to produce more content and elevating the hobby. So props to Jay for starting a show and we listen. And so would recommend that you guys do too. Great question too. Which Montreal Canadian will be the top valued young guns at the end of the year? Will it be Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, Juraj Slavkovsky, or somebody else? I'm going to kind of take the easy route here. I'm just going to say Caulfield. I'm banking that he's going to be healthy, and they shut him down. He's been out for a long time. He was in a great place where before his season ended prematurely. So I'm hoping that he can up where he left off. I guess there. But that's probably the easy choice or answer, most popular opinion. And then Slavkovsky, I think, too, could be a dark horse. He was trending a little bit. He did not get off to a great start last year, but he was also 18 years old. He was coming over from Europe in his first season in the NHL, but before he got hurt, he was, I think, trending a little bit up too. So he might be a dark horse candidate in that regard. Do you got an opinion on this, Troy?
I would lean towards Caulfield too, even though I want it to be Suzuki because I just root for him after that politician wanted him to learn French when he became the captain. But I think Caulfield shows any like getting back to that old form, and he recovered from that injury. His young guns are going to go flying,
Mhm.
and I like Caulfield. I think he's a good player. I think he's a great player actually. Just a little bit worried still about the size and the shoulder injury.
He's smallish, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Next question from Instagram, CardChef37. Great question. How do you figure
yep,
out pricing or values for one-on-one cards? So here's again where, and I'm using the full word on purpose here. Look for comparables, right? Often people use the word comp as an absolute, but comp stands for comparable, meaning that it's not a direct correlation. It's a similar correlation to or a similar value. What I would do though, specifically on a one-on-one, is find other one-on-ones for that player. So if you get a McDavid one-on-one, typically what do McDavid one-on-ones go for?
no,
Then you also have to measure the relative value of the set compared to other sets. So if you find a one-on-one McDavid from the cup versus a one-on-one McDavid from OPG paper, there's going to be a big value difference there. So you
yep,
can't just say, "Oh, I have a OPG paper one-on-one McDavid. I found one for the cup that sold for $40,000, so this is a $40,000 card." It doesn't work that way. So I think that the first step I do is try to find one-on-ones from that player. You also have to make sure that you're not comparing a veteran card to a rookie card too, because rookies are going to have premiums, of course. And then what I try to do is I try to find other one-on-ones that have sold from the set you pulled your one-of-one from. So if I have a McDavid one-on-one, maybe an Ovechkin one-on-one sold. I'm like, oh, McDavid's probably worth 20% more than Ovechkin. And so you kind of have to triangulate all those data points. But at the end of the day, when it comes to a one-on-one, and let's say you're trying to sell it, I think all you really have to do to a buyer that's motivated and wants the card is give them a reasonable comparable. If you're able to state your case, articulate, they may disagree with a point or two, but at
Yep.
least I think that gives you a starting point in the negotiation. It just has to be plausible based on other one-on-ones from that player, other one-on-ones from that set, and kind of triangulating all those comparisons. Do you have any other tips for that?
No, that is exactly what I would say. I know we've been asked this question in the past, and that's the breakdown I would use too.
Next question from Instagram, the real McCards. What player or players are severely undervalued in the hobby? Unappreciated youngsters or overlooked Hall of Famers, etc. So first of all, real McCards, we use the word unappreciated or underappreciated because when you say undervalued, it's a market. And so
Yeah.
the value is based on what people are willing to pay. And there's some of these guys that we don't understand why they're not value isn't higher, but you can't, in my mind, you can't really say it's undervalued. It's just the value is what it is. But maybe so under a little bit of semantics there, but we use the word underappreciated. And for the record, too, we're going to start doing a lot of our previews where we're going to get into the youngsters more. I think really in September,
Yep.
because that'll kind of be the month of September plan for our show. But I'll give you a couple on my list right now. So in that youngsters category, I talk about them all the time, but Tim Stutzla is the guy I'm really high on. Another one that I thought of again, looking at the Young Guns checklist for Series 2 when I was doing the ePack research, is Wyatt Johnston. He scored a lot
Hmm.
of goals at 19 years old on a really good team. And why I think that's important is when you're on a good team that has playoff aspirations and you're a rookie, a lot of times, you're not getting first power play unit minutes like you are probably on Anaheim or a team that stinks. And so for him to show out the way he did, he means that he had to really compete against a lot of good players and earn a spot to produce to the level he did on his team. And I believe I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I believe that he is maybe tied for Beniers with most goals for rookie, not named Andrea Kuzmenko, who was
Hmm.
too old to be called or eligible. And then the last one that I've kind of thought of, and this would be kind of a bounce back story from injury, would be Svechnikov, or there's a lot of people that are starting the Josh Norris steam again, but
Yeah.
Norris has been hurt so much. I'd be really
Yeah.
worried about that. But Svechnikov um, is a really good player, very young still on a very good team. So, any other youngsters that come to mind? Do you,
No,
Troy?
I always think of Stutzla when we talk about this.
Yeah.
It's just something you've kind of grained into my head, and I kind of agree with you.
And then on the vets and legends side, I could give you a list, real cards a
Yeah.
mile long. There's so many players that are quote unquote underappreciated or how you might say undervalued. Just looking at current guys, you have Stamkos, Kucherov, I think McKinnon to some extent that
Yeah.
we've talked about too. Mikko Rantanen is awesome, but he'll never get hobby love because he's buried on a good team
Yep.
in Colorado. Panarin has confused people for many years. Patrick Kane doesn't seem to have as much love as people have thought. There's, like I said, a lot of current players. And then when you get into the legend category, if
Yeah.
your name is not Wayne Gretzky, Gordie Howe, Bobby Orr, Patrick Waugh, Martin Brodeur, Guy Lafleur, or Maurice Richard, it seems like they're all underappreciated.
Yeah.
From Steve
I would
Eiserman to
agree.
all the 90s, kind of, we talk about those junk wax era guys,
Yep.
like a Nicholas Lidstrom, who we covered as our greatest player to wear number 5 in last episode.
Yep.
So, any other kind of points you want to make on that?
No, when you think about the vets, so it's Stamkos and Panarin are the ones that just jump out to me all the time.
Yeah, Samples 500 goals,
I
500 plus
know.
goals.
I know. It's crazy.
It's nutty. Last question from Instagram, Zach Video. This is a really good one, and
Yes.
I really want to end on this. He sent me a card, and I asked him if we could do this in Mailbag because I really wanted to. I think he has like a population count that insert. He has the population count 1, so the 101,
Okay.
and I believe it might be like Igor Shesterkin. Don't quote me on that, but that video. But sorry if I'm wrong there. So, anyways, he's like, "Would you get this card signed?
Hmm.
Is it a mistake to do it? Does it increase the value? Does it make it cooler?" So, I'm really interested in your take on this, Troy. But I'll just start off and say, it's your card. Do what you want with it, right? So there's no, I think, quote unquote, right or wrong answer. There's opinions that people will have. And my opinion is, I don't think I would get a one-on-one signed. And my reasoning is it's the only copy of that card.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's Jeremy Lee or other people in the hobby have shaped my perspective on this, or maybe I wouldn't have had the same opinion before. But if the card is the only copy, it wasn't intended to have an auto, then I don't, for me, I would just be uncomfortable getting it signed.
Yeah.
But I'll fight back to again. If you own the card, it's your right to do whatever you want. There's only opinions here, and a lot of people might disagree with my opinion, but I would lean towards not getting it signed.
Yeah, this one's tough for me. I would say if it's a card you're going to keep forever, you don't think you're ever going to sell it, and you want an auto on it, get the auto, but look and make sure it's going to look good. Because that's one thing I've seen with a lot of cards that get signed without they didn't have an auto, but you get the auto afterwards. That sometimes the auto looks terrible because it like blends in. The card wasn't meant to have an autograph, so they didn't really think about that and like the ink color and all that stuff. If you are looking at selling it at some point, I think I lean your way, especially on 101s, to just keep it as it is in its current condition as it was intended. However, I've always wondered, do autograph cards, like an autographed Young Guns after the fact, or even if you get a Young Guns card autographed, does that increase the value? And I've seen examples where it does, and I've seen examples where it doesn't.
I think it does because there's specific people that will value that.
Yes.
But again, I go back to there's a million copies of that
Yes.
card. So it's not like
Yes.
you're taking anything away. The other, I think, really important point about if you do get this card signed, and we just talked about this with Stature, they specifically have to
Yep.
change the surface of the card
Mhm.
in order to autograph it because the because if you signed the surface as it's been
Yeah.
produced, the autograph won't stick. So you have to be really careful to make sure that, like, I would buy a population count 1,000 and a bunch of them that are really cheap and practice
Yeah.
on that. The other
Yeah.
thing too is
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it if I would talk to the athlete and I would explain to them and say, this is a one of one card. Don't just like be talking to someone
Yes.
else and like scribble half off the card in your face. Like, you'd have
Yeah.
to give the athletes buy-in that they're going to take their time, that you would have an exact spot, and that they would do a really nice autograph. So I just think it's, in my mind, it's like really complicated if you're
Yeah.
going to do it. And yeah, I think you made the point earlier. You'd have to really take a lot of care and
Yep.
practice on other cards, make sure you have the right ink, that the ink is going to stick. And then two, the other risk in that is that, like I just said, Upper Deck, when they produce a card that's intended to be autoed, they know what surfaces not only will hold the auto in the short term, but will the auto will still look good in the long term. Like, I might even reach out to Upper Deck and ask them,
Okay.
"Hey, if I get this card auto 5 years from now, is it gonna bubble off and be half of an auto?"
Yeah, I love bringing up the whole point about ink and everything. I think it was in our Discord maybe where we had like I don't know, it was like a 30 string message thing going on. If I need to get a card, if I want to get a card autograph, what ink, what pen, what do I use? It was pretty good. So there
All
are
that
people
stuff
that,
stresses me out.
yeah, there are people that think about that. Yeah, I agree. It is stressful.
But
So
your
I hope that
card,
helps.
do
Hope
what you
that
want.
helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just trying to give you stuff to think about there. All right, Troy, I hope this isn't the last time I see you. Don't fall off the boat. Don't take our credit card to the casino, our show card. Or if you do, just make sure you win
Yeah, no kidding.
and have a lot of fun on your trip. We'll see you back on next Monday's show. You'll be fresh off the boat.
Yep.
So that'll be fun. If you like the episode, please leave a rating and review on Apple, Spotify, whatever podcast app you listen to us on. If you love the show, you want to support us, want to chat with us every day on the Hockey Cards Gong Show Discord server, please consider our Patreon support. You can donate as little as $5 a month. You do get some support level benefits. The link is in our show description. or you can go to our website, hockeycardsgongshow.com, and there's a link there. You can go to Patreon's website, patreon.com, and search for Hockey Cards Gong Show, or it's in our Instagram and TikTok profile. We are on social media, so follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Threads, I guess. And then, Troy, the Hockey Cards Gong Show podcast is a production of Dollar Box Ventures, LLC. We will see you all on Thursday.